Sweated to the truth, nothing but the truth. Put my hands on the Bible, y'all point me to the booth. Sweated to the truth.
Yo, what's going on, people? So we got Patrice Cullors, founder of BLM, Buying Large Mansions. Black Lives Matter, who had this to say about the Palestine and Israeli war. Let's tap in.
The other thing I'll say is Palestine is our generation in South Africa. And if we don't step up boldly and courageously to end the imperialist project that's called Israel, we're doomed.
You remember back in 2020, the BLM riots. Oh,
nah,
that's not Gaza.
That's not Gaza.
What is this, Minneapolis?
That's Minneapolis.
Yeah. This is Minneapolis 2020 from Black Lives Matter activists burning it down like it's a freaking war.
So I know this. Whatever side she's standing for, I'm on the opposite side, bro. Because we remember when Black Lives Matter came out with their About section, what it said originally before they erased it. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. That's what the website formerly read. So they were all for tearing down the family structure, which is the bedrock of American culture. So basically, they were all about tearing down America. We've seen how they did Minneapolis. Make no mistake about it, these people like her are trained Marxists. She said that herself.
The criticism is helpful. I also think that the first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers, are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
They want to overthrow the system in the United States of America. They don't want capitalism, they want communism. This is who is running the Black Lives Matter Global Foundation.
We shouldn't fool with her. Matter of fact, why is she not in jail anyway? She stole $90 million buying large mansions, and she's still walking around free. That's crazy. And ever since she been exposed, she been real low key, but decides to show her face for a terrorist organization. We're talking about Hamas. This should prove to people, this should show people that the Black Lives Matter organization is a terrorist organization. For her to come out straight and say that we're in support of Palestine, basically saying we're in support of Hamas and what Hamas is doing, they're showing us their true colors, and anybody that's putting money into that or still following these people should cut that off immediately. Crazy when Terry Crews came out and gave warning to people saying Black Lives Matter shouldn't mean Black Lives Better, and how he began to see how this was a militant terrorist organization.
Terry, man, you stepped in it. You say that you're willing you say you're willing to die on this hill. You've taken a lot of heat for this. Explain what you were thinking and why it's so important that you die on this hill.
Well, again, I wanted to bring up the fact that, there are some very, very, militant type forces in Black Lives Matter. And what I was issuing was a warning. It's one of those things where I've been a part of different groups, I've been a part of different things, and you see how extremes can really can go far and can go wild. And then when you issue a warning, and when a warning is seen as detrimental to the movement, how can you ever have checks and balances? In the 60s and 70s, airplanes went down all the time. And the reason they found out why they did was because the pilots could never be questioned. And when you have the leaders of the Black Lives Movement who are now talking about, if we don't get our demands, we're going to burn it down. Other Black people who are talking about working with other whites and other races, they're being viewed as sellouts or called Uncle Toms. You start to understand that you are now being controlled. You're not being treated as loved. You're actually being controlled. Someone wants to control the narrative. And I viewed it as a very, very dangerous self-righteousness that was developing that, that really viewed themselves as better. It was almost a supremacist move.
So let me jump in,
where
Terry.
they viewed that their Black lives mattered a lot more than mine.
Okay.
He was shunned for it, shamed and criticized and made to apologize on national television.
But my thing is, I just wanted peace. And I guess it goes back to my approval.
Yes.
It goes back to my need for approval. It went back to that. And again, it was a mistake. It was a mistake to tweet that out at that time.
And that,
I'll be
that
honest.
was the thing, funny enough, because Martin Luther King Jr. has talked about black supremacy.
Exactly.
Nelson Mandela himself was one of the people who said, I do not look for the oppression of white people. I don't look for the oppression of black people. I don't want anybody to be oppressed.
That's right.
Right? But the timing, I think, was the issue.
Yeah, it was.
Do you know what I mean?
I say that in the book.
Yeah, you were going, that's not what I was trying to do.
No.
And I think, this is one of those moments where I was like, that's why books over tweets.
It is. No, it is. That was a huge...
Which came to actually prove, lo and behold, that everything that he was saying was true about these people. But here's how I feel about the Israel and Palestine situation. So we know that Biden funded Iran $6 billion, and then he came out and said that he was siding with Israel. It said in the news that Egypt tried to warn Israel, as Egypt is the mediator between Palestine and Israel. Egypt tried to warn Israel on several occasions that something big was coming. Israel ignored it. People went on and talk about how Israel's defense, the defense system, was basically top tier. It could detect if a cat was running along that border.
A year ago, there was a military operation in Gaza to prepare for such events, and ongoingly there are trainings for these kind of scenarios. This raises serious questions for me anyway about Israeli intelligence. What happened? 2 years ago, there was a successful deployment of underground barriers with sensors to alert exactly on these kind of terrorist breaches. Israel has one of the most advanced and high-tech armies. How come there was zero response to the border and fence breaching? I cannot understand that. Personally, I served in the IDF 25 years ago in the intelligence forces. There's no way, in my view, that Israel did not know of what's coming. A cat moving alongside the fence is triggering all forces. So what happened to the strongest army in the world? How come border crossings were wide open? Something is very wrong here. Something is very strange. This chain of events is very unusual and not typical for the Israeli defense system. A point about the situation in Israel in the past few years, which I want to make, is related to, and those who follow me know that there's a general sense of insecurity in Israel. There's political and social instability and unrest. Public funds are being misused on agendas such as COVID, climate, judicial reform, abolishing cash, and many more. The current government is highly corrupt in my view, while the previous one was no better. I don't care about having a popular opinion. I care about exposing evil forces wherever and whomever they are. So to me, this surprise attack seems like a planned operation on all fronts. This is a failure to protect the people of Israel, for sure. Perhaps the biggest failure since the Yom Kippur War exactly 50 years ago, if not bigger. By the way, is it a coincidence it's exactly 50 years ago, almost on the day? The Yom Kippur War was on October 6, 1973. If I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say that this feels like the work of the deep state. It feels like the people of Israel and the people of Palestine have been sold once again to the higher powers that be. At the same time, this is still very, very difficult to fathom.
So why weren't they able to catch a spot when these terrorists came in? This definitely sounds like an inside job to me. We know about deep state governments and people working behind the scenes, the powers that be, in attempts to overthrow governments and things like that, ground soldiers that they use. But at the end of the day, I stand with the innocent, because both parties are suffering. But I do know that Israel is God's chosen. I'm definitely not going against them, but the bigger picture of the matter The bigger picture of the matter is to understand that there are both innocent bystanders on equal parties. And so it's important that we be understanding of that and in support of those people. Just to come out and say that I'm one-sided with these group of people when Hamas doesn't represent all of Palestine. And one of the news reports was that they chopped the heads off of babies.
A reporter in the kibbutz Kafr Azar said the Israeli commander who liberated it from Hamas, says they found the bodies of 40 babies, and some of them with their heads cut off. And that's horrible to even say, but this reporter is on the ground talking to the commander of this kibbutz, and there is video of this interview.
This ain't just some we want our country back. This is just, we want to eradicate and kill you all, period, point blank. And so this is why I say she shows herself, and the Black Lives Matter organization shows itself as a complete terrorist organization. So make no mistake about it. These people are anti-God, and they are set out to destroy anybody that does not think like they do, straight up. Let's check out what some of the people in the comments got to say. Rachel Joel 7, who says, wow, I've supported this movement from the beginning. Phone calls, emails, money, wow. Barbaric murders, women, children raped and paraded, named. Infants taken from their parents, elderly murdered live on Facebook, raped and beaten, women being sat on and spat on. That's justified. I'm for human life. Whatever you are, blown away. So it seems like the people saying the same thing I'm saying and others with common sense are saying. Stefan Spazanam, whatever his name is, says this is incredibly disrespectful and shows that no research was done on your end. Hamas does not represent all the Palestinian people, as I said, just like the far-right Israeli forces don't represent all the Israeli people. Innocent people are being murdered on both sides, and yet here you are picking a side. True BLM activists would never condone the murdering of innocent people. I don't know what a true BLM activist is, if I'm being honest. But let's keep going. Jeff Levy says, to think I donated and contributed support to buying large Black Lives Matter, I keep saying that, my bad. What a slap in the face. Parallels how? Do you also identify with Hamas or just their supporters protesting a show of ignorance and misinformation? You just ignited more hate against the smallest minority group in the world. And that's what they do. They ignite hate. They are not for bringing people together. They not even for black people for real. They're more focused on LGBTQ community than they actually are black people. That's something to think about. But Najee said, I hope that. Mania J says, this is incredibly disrespectful and you are condoning rape, murder, and kidnapping as an act of self-defense. Hamas is a terrorist organization. Do you think that they would think twice before doing the same to you? Straight up. These folks don't care nothing about you. Kind of like her. You don't believe like they do? Off with your head. They don't care nothing that you talking about, how you moving. They don't care your support of them. If you don't believe like they do, and I'm not saying all Muslims are like that. You have peaceful Muslims too. But the ones that they're doing what they're doing now, if they were to come across her, and they would see the way that she was living, they would definitely off with her head. They're not thinking about any of that she's talking about. Last one. Penny Gree says, this is so wrong. Do you realize how many innocent people at that concert were fighting to end expansion and settlement? Hamas wants to obliterate all Jews and move on to the Western world as a whole. What then? This is not a Palestinian war. This is Iran and Hamas war, and the Palestinian people will suffer more, not less, because of it. Patrice Cullors spews this hateful, racist propaganda to all of Black America to try to get them to react. In Minneapolis, nobody benefited from that. Nobody. Blacks, whites, even black people who had small businesses, they didn't benefit from that. A lot of black-owned businesses were burnt down, were destroyed. A lot of homes were destroyed. And so, to sit there and act like if they ain't the way, like, we got to go a different route. And I know for the most part, most people have come to their senses when it comes to this organization. But we should shun them all together. Look, girl, don't even open your mouth. Get out of here. We ain't trying to hear nothing you gotta say. Because if it's not for the betterment, of our people, of our community, of all the people in America, honestly, we ain't trying to hear nothing you gotta say. So out you go. Peace. But man, let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. Pray for Israel. Pray for Palestine. Pray for the innocent. Pray that justice and truth shall prevail. And if you have not made Jesus Christ your personal Lord and Savior, please, please, please make him. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Peace, love, I'm out.
Swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth. Put my hands on the Bible, y'all point me to the booth. Swear to tell